Welcome to the Brit Tales, where learning English becomes a journey filled with stories, culture, and confidence. Today, we invite you into a summer adventure on a traditional British farm, a setting rich with life and meaning. Through this story, you will practice listening and speaking, guided by clear British English and supported by subtitles. It is designed especially for intermediate learners, offering vocabulary about animals, farm life, and daily routines. Each detail is chosen to help you grow step by step, building confidence and fluency through storytelling. Let's begin our journey together. Welcome to the Brit Tales. When we think about summer, many of us imagine sunshine, long days, and the feeling of freedom that comes with the season. Now picture that summer taking place on a traditional British farm, surrounded by open fields, animals, and the quiet rhythm of rural life. The farm is not just a place of work, but also a home where generations have lived and created memories. In summer, it feels alive in a special way. The crops are growing tall in the fields, the animals are out in the pastures, and there is always the hum of activity from morning until night. Every day begins early, often before sunrise, with the sounds of roosters calling, cows waiting to be milked, and horses moving gently in the stables. It is a life full of routine, yet no 2 days ever feel quite the same. The charm of a traditional farm lies in its connection to nature. The fields are not just empty spaces, they are full of purpose and potential. In summer, you can smell the freshly cut hay, see the bright colors of wildflowers along the hedgerows, and hear the buzzing of bees working hard to collect nectar. All of these details bring a strong sense of place, a reminder of how deeply connected life on a farm is to the land and the seasons. Families working on farms understand that their work is not only about today, but also about tomorrow, as each summer leads into the harvest and prepares the way for the future. There is also a strong sense of community on a farm. Neighbors often help each other, especially during busy times like haymaking or when animals need extra care. Children grow up learning responsibility, feeding chickens, collecting eggs, or helping with simple tasks, and they gain a deep respect for both nature and hard work. Summer evenings are especially memorable. After a long day, people often sit outside, sharing food, laughter, and stories while the sun sets slowly over the fields. For many learners, this story of summer on the farm offers more than just a description of daily life. It creates an opportunity to explore vocabulary about animals, farming tools, and nature, while also giving a clear picture of British traditions and culture. Listening to a story like this helps to connect language learning with real experiences, making new words and expressions easier to remember. This is the world we step into as the story begins, a summer on the farm filled with life, learning, and the rhythm of the countryside. When we talk about learning English, one of the most important things to remember is that listening and speaking go hand in hand. Many learners spend hours reading grammar books or memorizing vocabulary, but the real progress comes when you start to listen carefully and then use what you hear in conversation. Listening allows you to notice the natural rhythm, pronunciation, and intonation of English, while speaking gives you the chance to practice those patterns and make them your own. The farm story you are about to hear is not just a simple tale. It is designed to give you both listening practice and a chance to improve your spoken English by repeating words, phrases, and even whole sentences. When you listen to a story, your brain is working in a very active way. You are not only following the meaning, but you are also absorbing the way the language is put together. You hear how sentences rise and fall, how words are linked together in fast, natural speech, and how expressions are used in context. This makes listening one of the most powerful tools for improving your language skills. The more you listen, the easier it becomes to recognize sounds and patterns, and soon your speaking will start to reflect what you have heard. That is why listening to stories in British English is such a valuable part of learning. Speaking, on the other hand, is about building confidence. It is normal to feel shy or nervous at first, but the key is to start small. Try repeating short phrases from the story, copy the pronunciation, and practice speaking aloud even if no one is around to hear you. Over time, you will notice that your voice becomes stronger, your words come more naturally, and you begin to sound more fluent. By combining listening and speaking, you train both your ear and your mouth, creating a smooth path to real communication. This farm story gives you the chance to do exactly that. You can listen carefully to the words, pay attention to the accent, and then practice speaking them yourself. Subtitles make the process even easier, helping you connect the sounds with the written form. With patience and practice, each story you listen to and speak along with will bring you closer to confidence and fluency. This is why focusing on listening and speaking will always be the foundation of your success in English. When learning English, it is important to find materials that match your level, because this helps you stay motivated and allows you to make steady progress. This story is designed especially for intermediate learners, which means it is perfect if you are somewhere between B1 and B2, or level 3 and level 4. At this stage, you already understand the basics of English. You can hold simple conversations, and you know quite a lot of vocabulary. But you may still struggle with longer sentences, more complex grammar, or the speed of natural speech. That is completely normal, and it is why this level of learning is so important. It is the bridge between being a beginner and becoming a confident, independent speaker. For intermediate learners, stories like this are very useful because they are challenging enough to push your skills forward, but not so difficult that you feel lost. The sentences are a little longer, the vocabulary is richer, and the ideas are more detailed. You will meet words connected to farm life, work routines, and daily experiences, and each one will add to your vocabulary. At the same time, the story is told clearly, with a British English accent, and supported by subtitles, so you can check your understanding whenever you need to. This balance of support and challenge is exactly what helps learners at this stage move up to the next level. Listening to English at the right level also trains your ear. You begin to notice not only the meaning of words, but also the tone, the rhythm, and the way speakers connect sounds together. For example, in natural speech, words often blend into one another, and this can be difficult at first. By listening to stories at your level, you slowly get used to this pattern, and it becomes easier to understand conversations in real life. Once you can follow along more comfortably, speaking will also become easier, because you will already have a model of how sentences sound in natural British English. This is why intermediate learners benefit most from stories like these. They provide the right mix of difficulty and support, building confidence step by step, and preparing you for more advanced English in the future. One of the most exciting parts of this story is the chance to explore vocabulary that is both useful and interesting. When we talk about farm life, animals, and daily routines, we are opening the door to a wide range of words and expressions that connect directly to real life. On a farm, there are chickens, cows, sheep, and horses, each with their own roles and needs. You might hear words like stable, tractor, pasture, and hay, all of which describe the daily surroundings of a traditional farm. These words may seem simple at first, but together they build a strong vocabulary set that allows you to describe places, activities, and experiences with much more detail. Farm life also teaches us action words that are practical in everyday English. Farmers collect eggs, milk cows, feed animals, and plant crops. Words like to breed, to harvest, to expand, or to renovate are not only about farming. They also appear in many different contexts, so learning them gives you flexibility when speaking English in general. Think about the word produce, for example. On a farm, it means products like milk, eggs, or vegetables, but in daily life, It can also be used in phrases such as to produce results or to produce energy. This kind of vocabulary helps you understand how English works in more than one setting. Daily routines are another important area of learning. Farms are built around routines, and so is language learning. Words like to greet, to require, to gain, or to collect are useful both in describing farm work and in describing everyday human life. A farmer may greet a neighbor in the morning, while you may greet a friend at school or work. A farm requires water and sunlight to grow crops, just as your studies require time and practice to succeed. By linking vocabulary with different situations, you make it easier to remember and use words naturally when speaking. Through this story, you are not just learning words, but building a vocabulary that is rich, practical, and meaningful. Every new term you understand and practice gives you another tool to describe the world around you, whether it is a field full of animals or a busy day in your own life. One of the most valuable parts of this story is that it is read in a clear British English accent, supported with subtitles for practice. Listening to a natural accent is essential for learners who want to understand English as it is really spoken. The rhythm, the tone, and the way certain sounds blend together can only be understood fully when you hear them in context. A clear accent makes it easier to follow along, even when the sentences become longer or the vocabulary is more advanced. It gives you a reliable model to copy, helping you to shape your own pronunciation and sound more natural when you speak. Subtitles add another layer of support. They give you the chance to connect what you hear with the written form of the language. Sometimes, when listening alone, it can be difficult to catch every single word, especially if the sounds move quickly. With subtitles, you can check what you missed, see how the words are spelled, and notice small details like verb endings or prepositions. This combination of listening and reading at the same time strengthens your memory because you are learning through both your ears and your eyes. Practicing with subtitles also helps you to build confidence. At first, you might rely on them a lot, reading every word as you listen. But over time, as your ear becomes stronger, you will notice that you need them less. You will be able to follow the story just by listening, and that is when your skills start to feel more advanced. You can always return to the subtitles whenever you want to double-check something, but the real goal is to train your listening so well that you can understand even without reading along. This balance between a clear accent and supportive subtitles makes the story an ideal tool for improving both listening and speaking. You hear authentic British English while also having a safety net that helps you stay on track. Each time you listen and read together, you move one step closer to fluency. This is why combining a natural accent with subtitles creates such a powerful way to practice and grow in English. Storytelling has always been one of the most natural ways to learn, and when it comes to English, it becomes even more powerful. A story does more than just give information. It invites you into a world where language is alive and full of meaning. Instead of memorizing lists of words or repeating phrases without context, you experience the language as it is used in real life. This makes it easier to remember and more enjoyable to practice. The rhythm of the sentences, the characters, and the events all combine to give you a deeper connection with the language. And this is what builds real confidence. Confidence in English often grows slowly, step by step. Many learners hesitate to speak because they fear making mistakes or not being understood. A story helps remove some of that pressure. As you listen, repeat, and even act out parts of the story, you are practicing in a safe space where mistakes do not matter. You can try out new words, copy the accent, and play with the language until it feels more comfortable. Each small success adds up, and over time you begin to trust yourself more. That trust is what creates the confidence to speak outside the classroom, with friends, or even in professional situations. Fluency is also encouraged by stories because they provide continuous language in a natural flow. You hear how sentences are linked, how one idea moves to the next, and how thoughts are expressed smoothly. This flow is very different from isolated exercises in a textbook. By listening and repeating, you begin to develop the same flow in your own speech. It becomes easier to keep speaking without long pauses, and your English starts to sound more connected and natural. A story also motivates you to keep going. You want to know what happens next, and that curiosity drives you to listen more carefully and practice more often. This regular exposure to meaningful language is what truly builds fluency. The more you engage with stories, the more automatic your English becomes, until speaking feels less like a task and more like a natural part of who you are. This is why storytelling is such a powerful way to encourage both confidence and fluency in English. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Brit Tales. Today, we explored a summer story on a traditional British farm, discovering new vocabulary and daily routines while strengthening listening and speaking skills. With a clear British English accent and subtitles, this story was designed for intermediate learners, giving you the right balance of challenge and support. Each moment was created to build your confidence and fluency step by step, proving how powerful storytelling can be for learning. Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep speaking. Until next time, goodbye from the Brit Tales and happy learning.